Jim Jones just can't seem to chill. The Harlem rapper is back, stirring up chaos, and this time the internet is losing it. After dropping bold claims about Mase and Cameron, fans are saying Jim's acting salty like never before. Every time it feels like he's ready to move on, he throws another jab that drags everyone straight back into the drama. During a recent podcast, Jim started talking about fake love in Harlem and how people flip sides when the cameras come on. But here's the kicker. Nobody even mentioned names. Jim went ahead and called them out himself, saying, "You see Mase and Cam? They not the same? Them boys Hollywood now." And just like that, the internet erupted. People immediately started clowning him, saying, "Here he goes again, talking about Mase and Cam instead of making music." What made it even messier was the way Jim tried to play it off like he was giving street wisdom to the youth. But instead of sounding insightful, it came off bitter, especially when you realize that Mase and Cameron have been absolutely winning lately. Their show, It Is What It Is, blew up this year and became one of the biggest hip-hop media platforms around. They've turned Harlem Energy into a full-blown empire. Millions of views, celebrity guests, brand deals, and constant viral moments. So when Jim threw shade, saying they're not really from the streets, it didn't sound like truth-telling. It sounded like envy, and fans felt it immediately. People were calling him out left and right, saying he's just mad because they're shining without him. Even the podcast hosts look uneasy, like, "Man, we didn't ask for all that." But Jim didn't back down. He kept talking like he was exposing something deep and real, feeding into that old Harlem tension that never really died. And you could tell he was loving every second of it. This wasn't just about street credibility. It was about pride, history, and who really runs Harlem right now. One thing for sure, Jim's words got the city talking again. And the wild part? Mase and Cam didn't even have to respond. Their success was already speaking louder than anything Jim could say. But he just couldn't stop. He kept doubling down, acting like he had something to prove to the whole city. During the same podcast, he dropped, "I'm just saying not everybody who talked tough was tough. Some people grew up around real dudes and borrowed the aura." And just like that, the internet exploded. Fans went absolutely wild in the comments. People accused Jim of projecting his own insecurities. And let's be honest, among the three Harlem legends, Jim has always carried the biggest chip on his shoulder. Every line he drops now gets dissected, replayed, and debated online. And this wasn't just casual chatter. Social media lit up like a wildfire. Clips from the podcast started trending. Memes began circulating, and every Harlem fan had an opinion ready. Jim's energy reminded everyone why his name still carries weight, even when it's wrapped in controversy. The craziest part? Jim's tone made it feel personal. This wasn't just commentary on success. It was a statement about legacy, respect, and territory. He wasn't just pointing out Mase and Cam's wins. He was trying to position himself as the one still holding Harlem's realest crown. And that's exactly why people got hooked. Because in hip-hop, pride like that isn't just words, it's a challenge. And the internet, as always, was ready to judge who really runs the streets and who's just talking loud. This beef isn't new. Jim's been tossing subtle shots at Mase and Cam for years, stretching back to the fallout of Dipset. Back in Harlem's golden era, these three were untouchable. Mase had the smooth radio hits that made him a superstar. Cameron was the brain behind the brand, the fashion kingpin, turning everything he touched into influence. And Jim, he was a muscle, the loud one, the self-proclaimed street general, the energy that made Harlem feel untamed. Together, they weren't just a crew. They were a movement, defining the sound, style, and swagger of the city. But as time went on, everything shifted. Mase reinvented himself, coming back stronger and gaining respect for keeping it real while showing real growth. Cameron flipped the entire game, transforming into a media mogul with his hit platform. It Is What It Is, proving he could dominate beyond the streets. And Jim, he's still stuck in that 2003 mindset, constantly trying to prove who's the real Harlem. It's like he's trapped in a loop, fighting battles nobody's even asking about anymore. Every comment, every sly reference feels like a replay of old tension, but the world has moved on. Now, these recent remarks could be the breaking point. Mase and Cam don't even have to respond to make Jim look out of touch. Their wins, their empire, their influence, it all speaks louder than any diss or old-school brag. While Jim keeps clinging to old glory, Harlem's narrative has already shifted, and the internet is watching every move, dissecting every line, waiting to see if Jim will finally realize he's punching at shadows that don't exist anymore. This is more than a beef. It's a lesson in timing, power, and legacy. Fans are noticing a pattern. Every time Mase and Cam make a major power move together, here comes Jim with another Harlem truth bomb moment, throwing shade, acting like he's dropping street lessons. This latest rant followed the same playbook. When someone asked Jim about it is what it is, he said, "It's cool they're doing something positive, but let's not act like they ever did anything for the city." People lost it instantly. If anyone put Harlem back on the global map after Big L, it's definitely Mase and Cameron. Mase had the world in a chokehold in the late 90s, mixing preacher calm with street flavor. And Cam? He carried Harlem through the 2000s, turning Dipset into a movement that influenced fashion, slang, and the city swagger. So when Jim tries to downplay their impact, it doesn't sound like truth. It sounds like jealousy wrapped in nostalgia. Fans see it crystal clear now. Jim isn't mad that they changed. He's mad the spotlight isn't on him anymore. And that's the real story burning beneath all the Harlem drama. The pink furs, the slang, the swagger, that was Cameron. Jim played his role, sure, but Cam masterminded that entire Harlem wave. So when Jim starts talking down on him and Mase, it feels like an attempt to rewrite history. And fans aren't having it, blasting him online. Jim keeps acting like he built Harlem by himself. Cut it out. People even started digging up old interviews where Jim openly showed respect to both Mase and Cam. He called them mentors, even credited Cam as a visionary who taught him how to move in the industry. So what changed? Maybe it was Dipset breaking apart. Maybe it was when Mase and Cam reunited for It Is What It Is without him. Whatever the reason, it clearly struck a nerve. You can see that frustration every time Jim brings them up. But Mase and Cam, they didn't even respond directly. They laughed it off on their show like pros who know they're winning. Mase joked, "Some people mad because they can't get a seat at the table." And Cam added smooth, "We busy making money, not excuses." The internet went wild. That was pure clapback. No cursing, no yelling, just confidence. They cooked him without even trying. Jim tried damage control online, claiming he was misquoted, but everyone had seen the video. There was no misunderstanding. He said exactly what he said. And instead of owning it, he doubled down with cryptic posts like, "Real ones don't need validation." By then, the damage was done. This could have gone so differently. Imagine if Jim had shown love instead of throwing shade. 3 Harlem icons coming together instead of tearing each other down. Mase with the wisdom, Cam with the business, Jim with the street voice. A true powerhouse. Instead, pride got in the way. The city they all rep feels divided again. Fans are wondering if Jim is chasing respect he already earned years ago. Too busy proving he's realer than everyone else. That's the real heartbreak. Because Harlem's legacy deserves unity, not another headline about authenticity. 3 legends, same city, same era, all still making waves. That's legacy. But Jim seems addicted to chaos. Fans are saying Mase and Cam have outgrown him, evolving into true businessmen, while Jim acts like the bitter ex-friend who can't stop talking about what could have been. Let's be honest, Jim's credibility has been slipping for a while. From messy Dipset verses to Locks battles and constant social media beefs, his energy has been off. People are starting to say he's chasing relevance through drama instead of consistency. And this latest rant, it just fuels the idea that Jim might be his own biggest obstacle. Instead of celebrating Harlem's wins, he turns the spotlight back on himself. Back in the day, Harlem unity meant something. But now, the drama keeps overshadowing the legacy, and fans can't help but notice. Back in the day, Harlem unity was about more than just music. It was about pride, respect, and representing the block with love. But now, it feels like Jim's the only one still holding grudges from 2 decades ago. Everyone else moved on, built their legacies, and evolved, while he's still keeping score like it's 2005. And the wildest part? While Mase and Cam are out here dominating media and making moves, Jim's still talking about who's standing on the block. Bro, it's 2025. People care about who's building, who's making money, who's leaving a mark, not who's outside flexing. Mase and Cam figured it out. They turned their friendship into a full-blown business empire. With it is what it is. Their platform blends comedy, sports, culture, and real talk, everything hip-hop media needed but didn't have. They kept that Harlem flavor but modernized it, made it smart, and turned it into money. Every clip goes viral. They adapted. That's what winners do. Meanwhile, Jim hops from podcast to podcast, defending his legacy like anyone's doubting it. People aren't questioning his contribution. They just wish he'd evolved like the rest of the city's icons. Even rapper Yo-Yo said it perfectly in a recent interview. Some artists get mad when their peers level up while they stay stuck in old mindsets. And man, that line fits Jim like a glove. Every time Mase and Cam evolve, Jim starts talking wild again. He can't stand to see them shine without him in the picture. Instead of learning from their success, he uses it as fuel to stir controversy. Fans are noticing. They miss the Jim who moved with confidence, not the one chasing headlines for attention. Harlem's legacy deserves to be celebrated, not dragged into another ego war. The city raised 3 giants, but only 2 seem focused on the future. Jim? He's living in the past, and every time Mase and Cam shine, he throws shade like clockwork. Fans are calling it what it is: jealousy. They pointed out how Jim's been trying to launch his own podcast for a while now, but nothing has landed the way it is what it is did. He even teased a show with the same setup, the same talk show vibe, but it flopped before it gained traction. So instead of building his own lane, he's busy throwing rocks on Twitter at theirs. And the internet hasn't held back. Fans started calling him Harlem's 50-year-old hater, which is brutal, but that's the internet. They've been digging up old clips of Jim giving Cameron credit, then matching them with interviews where he admitted Kim gave him his first record deal. The contradictions are wild. One moment giving respect, the next try and take it away. Fans notice that flip-flopping. It makes Jim look messy, like he's fighting a battle nobody else is seeing. Because truthfully, his biggest battle isn't with Mase or Cam. It's with himself. Jim can't seem to separate pride from progress. Every time another Harlem native wins, he takes it as competition instead of celebration. Meanwhile, Mase and Cam don't even see him as a threat. They've taken Harlem Street legacy and turned it global. They're signing deals, sitting with moguls, shaping culture, while Jim is online, trying to prove he's the realest in the room. But here's the thing. When you constantly have to prove you're real, chances are people already stop believing it. And that's exactly what fans are pointing out. So the question is, what's driving Jim Jones to keep this up? Pride? Ego? Or the quiet fear of being forgotten? Probably all 3. Jim built his name on hustle, loyalty, and charisma. Nobody can take that away. But lately, it feels like he's clinging to old beefs and past glory instead of creating new moves to keep himself relevant. Fans want to see the Jim who inspired people, not the one arguing online for validation. Legacy isn't about proving you're real. It's about staying relevant without losing yourself. Right now, Jim is at a crossroads between the Harlem hero he was and the headline chaser he's becoming. The shame is real because Jim still has talent. That raw charisma that made him a Harlem icon hasn't disappeared. But somewhere along the way, he forgot how to let go of old wounds. And until he figures that out, the city will keep watching, waiting to see if he ever stops holding grudges long enough to evolve. Because while Mase and Cam move forward, Jim keeps rewinding the past, and fans can't help but notice. Meanwhile, Mase and Cam have mastered something Jim still struggles with: evolution. They get it. In 2025, you don't need to be in the streets to keep your street cred. You do it by staying solid, owning your lane, and building something that lasts. That's exactly what it is represents. Harlem growing up, blending hustle, business, and maturity all in one. Jim, on the other hand, he's stuck in 2005, thinking the only way to prove you're real is by throwing shade and starting fights. The game changed. He didn't. And the wildest part? Every time he talks reckless about them, Mase and Cam just keep winning. Their clips go viral, their followers grow, and they start trending again, while Jim ends up looking bitter yelling from the sidelines. It's become a pattern. He talks, they laugh. The fans pick sides. And when the smoke clears, Jim's catching the L. People online are roasting him nonstop. One viral comment nailed it. Jim acts like an ex who can't stop talking about his old crew. And that's exactly how it feels. He's still mad about missing out on the glow-up, watching his old teammates rack up wins while he's stuck replaying. Old highlights. But imagine if Jim played it differently. If he linked up instead of lashing out. A Harlem reunion with Mase Cam, and Jim putting ego aside would break the internet overnight. It would remind everyone why Harlem was untouchable back in the day. But instead, he keeps wasting energy proving points nobody asked for. Mase and Cam already show that growth is the real revenge. Success, peace, and longevity. Jim's problem isn't that he fell off. It's that he refuses to evolve. Until he lets go of pride, he'll keep watching his crew shine without him, wondering why the spotlight no longer hits the way it used to. Now it's clear to everyone. Mase and Cam are thriving. Jim? He's spiraling, tripping over his own attempts to grab attention. Every time he opens his mouth, it proves exactly why people stop taking him seriously. Mase and Cam have evolved beyond petty beefs. They've turned legacy into longevity. They don't need to scream about being real. Their success speaks for itself. They've built something lasting, something that honors Harlem, without dragging anyone else down. Meanwhile, Jim's once-respected legacy is starting to sound like a broken record, drowned out by his own bitterness. And the crazy part? Every time Jim tries to clown Mase and Cam, he just ends up clowning himself. It's like watching someone fight shadows. He's so focused on rewriting Harlem's story that he's erasing his own chapter in the process. Fans are tired of the ego trips. They want unity, not another rant about who's real. Because Harlem's greatness has always come from teamwork, energy, and evolution, not jealousy. The real ones already know the score. Mase and Cam are too busy winning to even respond. That silence, it hits harder than any diss track ever could. They're sitting on deals, trending every week, and turning Harlem pride into global power moves. That's growth in action. No chaos, just results. Jim might keep talking, but the truth doesn't lie. Mase and Cam built legacies that speak louder than words, while Jim's story keeps fading under the noise he creates. It's wild, but it's also a lesson. Sometimes silence wins louder than shouting ever could. And that's where we'll leave it for now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more wild celebrity drama. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Team Mase and Cam or Team Jim? Let's talk. And before you go, check out the next video on your screen. We've got even crazier moments where rappers got exposed for being fake gangsters. You won't want to miss it. Catch you in the next one.